and they haven't been seen since. So if anybody knows where the culprits are for that, please let me know.
So it was a coordinated attack.
A coordinated attack. Yeah, for the club or whatever. But anyway, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is something which has been pretty unfortunate in the news, which is basically Bronny James. How old is Bronny James?
He's 19.
19, and he suffered a cardiac arrest, which is sort of, I don't know. What do you say to that, Kay? I mean,
it's really sad, I think. You have to kind of think about his previous health conditions, right? Because if he's, kind of been dealing with things privately and we just don't know, but he's so young.
Well, I had a friend who died very young, and when I knew him, he was very, very skinny, and I'm not saying this is the case, but then when I seen him literally 12 years later, he was very bulky, and I always thought that perhaps he was on steroids or something. And I just think you just don't know what drugs, some of these kids are on. I mean, I just hope that wasn't the case in this. But with a father as good as LeBron James, he's got a lot to live up to, and I think there's a lot of pressure on him, to be as good as his dad.
Have you seen the video of his youngest son where he had a growth spurt in 2020? He was maybe 5'7", and then now he's 6'6". And they were people were like, oh, he's not gonna make it in the NBA. He's so small,
Was that Bronny?
Like that. No, I don't remember his other.
That's the pressure that I'm saying is, people, because his dad was and he is one of the all-time greats. Why put that pressure on the kids?
Well, he doesn't want to play basketball.
I mean, basketball is no easy sport. It's I think it's probably the most competitive sport, over in the US. So, I don't know, it's just different. What's your opinion on it, Daniel? Here we have Daniel Amore from Century 21 Olympian. What's your opinion on it, Daniel?
Well, if you first look at him, he looks pretty healthy, and somebody that's been in basketball for as long as he's been playing basketball, you would think he'd be in pretty good shape. But I think you hit it right on the head there, where you said there's some unknown underlying issues that maybe he had, and we don't know about it. And unfortunately, as young as he is, it's not unusual for some other young athletes to have cardiac arrest for unknown reasons that they don't have on their health. And Stephen, you mentioned maybe substance abuse that maybe they're taking. I don't want to say that that's his case, but I think not having all the facts, I think the best thing here is to support him, to get him through that hump, and I'm pretty sure LeBron James is doing the best he can to do that. So I'd say, I wish him a lot of luck, and that he recovered through this as quickly as he can.
Yeah, likewise, I think, but I mean, and I hope that there's been a lot of controversy with the NCAA, not paying their stars and all the other stuff that goes with that, and I hope that they are looking after the players as for the health and everything else. Why are you smiling?
There's been a lot of what?
What's that?
There's been a lot of what?
No, NCAA. Is it the NCAA?
No, he said controversy, but he said it in a unique British way.
Yeah, he said it in a British way.
But the NCAA, they wasn't paying, the college kids to perform. They was making millions of dollars. And I hope that's changed, and I hope now that they are supporting some of them athletes.
Yeah, because didn't they make it a rule too recently to where a lot of it they were preying on kids, right out of high school, because remember, it was like right out of high school, they would go immediately to the NBA, but now they have to at least spend 1 year in college before they have to be 19 to be able to actually get drafted now, because the advantage that they're
I don't remember if LeBron James went straight from high school into the pros. I don't remember if that's true or not or accurate, but
I know Kobe did. Kobe Bryant did.
yeah,
We miss him.
yeah.
I do anyway. I'll be honest with you, I miss Kobe Bryant. He was just incredible.
This is what I wanted to show you. This.
Yeah, and Steph Curry there.
So you see.
Oh yeah.
Is this his bronze kids?
Yeah, and now look. Because
Oh yeah, he's definitely taller. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then they were like, oh well, now that he's 6'6", he's definitely going to be better than Bronny. So there's
All
probably
right,
just
but
like
let me comment something that as a past coach, okay? Different students and it's a bit like life. Different students and different kids develop at different ages.
Right.
And I was a late developer. I really didn't develop till I was 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Because mentally I was a little bit lazy before then, and I didn't really know where I wanted to go. And I don't forget watching John Curry win the 1976 Olympics, and after I'd seen that was it. I knew what I wanted to do. But and it just and as a coach you realise that as well, that more different students develop at different ages. And I'm sure that teachers understand that, and you've just got to be patient. That's really all you can do, is to be patient with that. It's just a case of how patient you can be.
I feel really bad for whatever's going on. Plus it has to be something that's completely in the news, and it's like he can't handle this privately. Everybody's going to be hounding to see how he is.
Well,
I
at
think
this time the family need a bit of peace from everything. That's really the best thing that can help. Anyway, we're going to move on now. Let's talk a little bit about an article that I put in our system, which was basically 100% of coral mortality was found in Florida Keys Reef due to the rising temperature. I don't know if anybody knows, and you're listening into the podcast, but basically the temperature of the Atlantic is rising, and it's killing a lot of the plant life under the sea, and a lot of the fish are actually going north where the sea is a little bit cooler. And I think it's so unfortunate that's happening. They're putting it down to global warming, if that is the case. But we're talking at this moment in time about the Sombrero Reef off the Florida Keys, which is the southern part of Florida, and I think it's very, very sad that it's getting to that. I'm very much into the global warming. I do think it exists, and I do think we've got to make changes, because if not, it's our children that are going to suffer at the end of the day. But I don't think it's an easy change to make at all. Especially, I think in America, where oil is so, oil and gas is so prolific, such a strong part of our economy is the only way to really put it. And plus we're getting this far involved in Ukraine, and that's going to make the situation worse.
I think my only 2 cents on that is, because it's hotter, how does that impact the weather? Is it more susceptible to hurricanes now?
It makes us more acceptable because it warms up the seas, and then the seas evaporate.
And Florida gets hit by plenty of hurricanes.
Yeah, I actually looked at a chart, and it said the amount of hurricanes and severe storms that hit Florida last year was something like 120, and then the Texas coast, because we're sort of sheltered in the Gulf, we was like 72.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So but that's not just hurricanes, but like severe weather and different things, and storms, and so it really makes a difference. And it's happening all over Europe at the moment. It's even happening in the Midwest. The recent floods up there as well. So
look at this, because of something similar. a shark right at the
Oh, I see it. Mm-hmm.
right at the.
It's super shallow there.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they reckon they're doing. They reckon they're coming in.
Because they don't have, you know.
They're looking for mortgage officers.
Yeah, I don't go in the water, so they're out of luck.
But there's not just one there. Look, there's a couple of them, isn't there?
No, those are just the buoys. The sharks
Okay.
are right in front of the people.
Mm-hmm.
Literally right there, which is.
But that's been reported recently on a number of occasions.
Yeah.
But isn't Florida one of the ones that they are the most common to have a lot of sharks in shallow waters?
I think like baby sharks.
Yeah.
But like this is like a adolescent shark. I
The,
don't know.
the interesting thing about that video is if you look at the people in the water, it's not like they're panicking. They're just doing their old normal routine. They don't even see the shark there.
Until somebody starts yelling shark.
Shark, yeah.
Oh, it's only a shark. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We see them all the time.
Yeah, so anyway, I guess we'll move on again to the next subject. Let's talk about this. A lady was reported for dragging her daughter across her yard by her hair. Apparently this mum had grabbed a daughter by the hair and pulling her across the yard. So what I wanted to talk about is, you know, what's everybody's feelings on this?
Child abuse.
What's that?
Child abuse.
You think it's child abuse?
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
You don't drag a kid by their hair. I don't care what they have done on earth. You do not drag a child from their hair. What's wrong
What's
with
your
you?
opinion with that, Daniel?
Well, yeah, I agree with her, and my question would be, well, she got caught, right?
You're right.
What did she do before that, you know, or has she been doing?
That's my
before?
question. What was the
So-
kid? I agree with what you're saying, but I also agree with what he's saying. What was the girl doing? My father, there was one instance where he threw me from one side of the room to the other, and my father basically had 3 rules. The first rule is, 1, you never ever disrespect me.
Mm-hmm. I think
The-
that's common
or-
for every
alright.
father and every
The
mother.
second thing is, you never disrespect me in public.
That's
And the third thing he said was, if you ever do disrespect me in public, I will disrespect you in private. And that's what happened on one occasion. I disrespected him, and I've seen it as a skating coach. I'm not condoning what this woman did, but I've seen it as a skating coach where you've got, I've even witnessed it when my kid went to a private school and played basketball, where the parents are being, in my opinion, abusive to the kid because they're not producing to the level that they should do in the sport that they're trying to do. And, you know, you've only got to look at the word tiger mums. I know it goes on, you know, that's a...
There are many different ways to discipline a child. Dragging them by their hair is not one.
You know.
I'm sorry. That does not have an excuse in my book.
But
she should not be a mom.
Do you not think there's ever... I'm not a condoning
You know how
what
much
she's doing.
damage that child probably has?
And emotionally, a lot of emotional
And then
damage.
that may not be the
Physically,
first time.
Emotionally, that child is scarred for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
I
may
mean,
not-
I've witnessed little kids with fingers in their mom's nose.
Well, you know, you have to.
I've
discipline your
I've
child.
witnessed that. I've witnessed some kids, all right, and I've literally witnessed them pointing their finger in their mom's nose. I got a call once that my wife made where Jack, my son, was in, remember Randall's grocery store?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a popsicle that he
They're
wanted.
still around.
All right, very few of them these days.
Yeah.
But there was a popsicle that he wanted, and then my wife called me up, panicking because she couldn't control him because he wanted this popsicle, and he was kicking her in the middle of Randall's. How do you control that?
You pick up the kid, go home, and put them on timeout.
Well, that's what I said. Actually, I was talking to somebody yesterday about the same thing as this. Okay.
You're probably gonna have to have a very hard time picking them up because they're gonna be.
Because that's the first thing I said. Put them in timeout. You take the computer away. You take everything away. You take everything away. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes they're so strong-willed.
They are, but one thing that I've learned as a parent, you never discipline your child when you're angry. If your heart is racing
and I can understand that.
they're doing whatever it is, you need to calm
And they're
down because you're the adult.
And they're doing it specifically
and you
for that
have
reason.
to control yourself, let that anger go through your system, and then say, you know what, we need to sit down. What is happening that made you react like this? I do not discipline my child. My 2 girls, it's something that
But
I do not
in all
do.
fairness, this is what I want to say. You have 2 of the greatest kids that
Oh, yes.
you do. No, but you do. When they come into the office, they're well behaved and never cause a scene.
It depends how you bring up your kids, right?
Yeah.
I brought my kids up as, I'm your mom. One, you always respect me. Same thing your dad probably told you, and you tell your children, don't disrespect me. If you disrespect me, we're gonna deal with it in private. But there's other ways than physical abuse to deal with it, right? And I've always been their friend. So today, I'm gonna talk to you as you're my friend. You're my equal.
See, that's what I disagree with.
Right now, you're not my equal. I'm the mom. So there's boundaries that you set with your children. And the other thing that I'm thinking, and not because I want to excuse a mother in this case, maybe she suffered the same abuse as she was a child.
Maybe.
Because a lot of these things that you see, it's just a domino effect, and it's up to us as an adult child when we grow up to break that cycle.
I spoke to
I recall when I was growing up, I would get a whipping from my mom, and my dad. But one thing I swore in my life is I'm never gonna do that to my kids. There has to be a better way. You as a parent have to break that cycle. I'm not saying my parents were abusive or anything, but it's that that was their way of reprimanding because that's the way they were taught by their parents, right? So to me, I was no, I don't think this is a way. Hurting your child hurts. I remember I tried doing that once and I cried. Maybe I was really soft, but I cried a lot when the first time that I, tapped on my daughter. And I was I will never do it again. And from there on, I was you know what? This is it. We're not having this. This is mom. This is you. Mom has feelings just like you do. And we changed the whole way of disciplining. I never did that again. Strictly have different ways to discipline my kids than
what was brought up in your family.
Yeah, because
Well, you had your
if
sister.
you disrespect,
but you had
slap
your
you.
right.
And
And
there's
it's
other ways.
It's different times and everything else.
But if a child says something and it's a normal reaction, maybe they call the parent something.
That
right?
is not a normal reaction.
But that is not normal.
No.
My mother, she never spanked me. So I was a great kid. But
See, there's another great kid.
My sister and my brothers were terrible children. But she stopped, they stopped responding to getting spanked, so she came up with really creative punishments. I don't know, she knows a lot about pressure points, so she would make you flex your muscles and poke you in a pressure point so your arm would go down. And she would be now you can't use your arm for 30 minutes, get out of my face. And that's what she would do.
That's child abuse.
I don't know if it's child abuse. That's some type of Indian business.
I think that's funny.
It was she'd be flex your arm, and so she did it to me once, and then she squeezed the pressure point, and then I was what did I do?
What's your opinion, Daniel?
I think I kind of agree with Laura. what you were saying about raising your kids, because it does start in childhood, bringing them up a certain way. But to be fair, we're in a world right now that everybody is not old school. Everybody's changed. Everybody's going through their own emotions and mental states that causes problems for them. And they take it out on their kids, maybe. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
I'd like to know what led up to this. I don't approve of what she did, but I would like to know what sort of led to this, whether it was just a case of she told a kid to get inside and a kid didn't get inside. But all I can say is the poor kid, and the real negative part with this is it's another kid that's going to end up in protected child services. That's the part that...
It's really scary though too.
I would ask the question, Mom, what's in your heart that makes you treat your child like that?
Yeah. Or, kids are like, why do you hate me?
I think you'd be surprised, because they might come back and say, well, this behavior's been going on and I'm just at the point where I'm fed up, and they break.
Right.
Like you said, it's a reaction. It's a reaction. When you're mad at somebody, you just don't know how you're going to behave, because your emotions take over you, and you'll do stuff that you shouldn't be doing. And that may be what happened here. So the question here is, what kind of a support does she have, the mother, and what can they do with the child?
That's another point.
They need support. And I guess the only thing here is that somebody videotaped this, and they saw the wrong with it. But how many people do you see trailing her and trying to stop her?
Oh, I've seen plenty of people whip their kids, do things to their kids at a grocery store or at a store. I just walk away and start crying, because it just hurts to see people.
Well, and then you're also afraid of them getting after you, talking bad to you because you're involved in their business.
Yeah,
but
I
the
don't get
child is
involved.
the child here
I
is
just
the
walk
number
away.
one. The child.
Normally it's like whacked, and I just walk away with that when I see that happen. But if I were to see a child being dragged, I think I would
Walk away?
I would not walk away.
Okay.
I would stop.
And,
I would
and
stop
how would you
and-
react to that if you didn't walk away?
Huh?
What would you do?
I would stop, like, hey, you need to let go. I'm calling the cops.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Like, you
all
need to
5'4" of Laura.
Huh?
All 5'4" of Laura.
That is a very generous.
Well,
height that you're
like,
giving her.
okay, so
I pack a bigger punch than I look.
5'1".
no, you're gonna say, hey, I'm calling the cops, and you don't let go of your child like that,
Mhm.
And
Or I would be like, hey, they're calling the police. I would like say somebody else is calling.
And-
Or call the police. It's just like you would
need
call.
to calm down, like, de-escalate the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would you have done? Would you have encouraged the behavior, Stephen?
No, I wouldn't.
Would you have said something?
I wouldn't. I don't know what I would have done, to be perfectly honest, because I think it's the problem in America. You can always get shot for something.
Very true.
You never know whether they're packing or not, just because you go up there, you try to do the right thing, and you just don't know.
That's true. I walked to the grocery store and I had to bring a weapon with me because I was scared. But I think there's a psychological study that's been going on too, because like you said, Stephen, you've seen people like discipline or abuse.
I've
essentially their
had some
kids.
of my ex-students.
Right. So.
All right. Okay. Here's a scenario. Some of my ex-students that I used to teach, the parents would obviously pay me my fees for me to teach their kids. The kids were practicing, but mom and dad wasn't just convinced about going in the stands and watching them practice. They would be at the boards acting as a second coach.
Mhm.
And if their kids wasn't landing the jumps like they wanted to, they would get ugly. You're talking about an ice rink which is 60 meters by 30 meters, and some of them would
What is that?
be
in feet?
very, very... What's that?
What is that in feet?
That is feet, actually. It is feet. It's 60.
60. Okay.
Is that right? No, it's meters.
3.5 meters a foot or something like
Yeah.
that.
It's
Or
180 feet by 90 feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
3 feet. Yeah.
Plus, well, actually, it's a bit bigger than that, because it's a meter is 3 foot 3 inches. But basically, you know, and that's what you get into. And so it puts you as a coach in a bad situation because they're paying you wages. If you go basically back to the parent and, you know, I used to advise the parents and say, look, just leave it to me. If you've got any problems, I'm more than happy to, you know, get involved and sort it out. But you get into a position where some kids wouldn't even want to come into the rink.
Yeah, because they were afraid.
Because they want to come in for the lesson, but they don't want to come in because they know that they're going to have a hard time through mum.
Yeah, that's...
You know, I'd get a better reaction from a kid because he's getting a free cup of hot chocolate to keep him warm.
That's what people are saying, though. Like you said, you know, they're kind of abusing them. It's like, or beating them, whatever. Because, like the show Toddlers and Tiaras, you know, the parents were making them do that. But a lot of it is because of jealousy. Like, they're trying to live vicariously through their children.
Mm-hmm.
So in their minds, if they're not doing well on the ice rink or they're not doing well, whatever, I don't know what she was doing, but like people are jealous of their children sometimes, especially women. So
there was one student that I taught. The father was very, very wealthy. All right, he worked in the oil industry. He paid me very well as a coach. All right, and no disrespect to the kid that I taught, the kid had very limited abilities, but the truth of the matter is I just really didn't, and honestly just didn't teach them for the money because I believed in the kid. Like we said, I was a late developer. I was trying to help the kid as much as I can be as best as she can be, all right? But when you look at the ability that she had to some of the other kids, there was another kid that had the ability, but her parents didn't have the money, and there was no way that she was ever going to be without a sponsor and the money and to get to the levels. But I mean, to be perfectly honest, the father that had the money, he took it for granted that just because he had the money, that the kid was going to do well at a national championship.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite work out. So he gets to the national championship, and after the national championship, then he gets fired. All we do is change coach. It doesn't change the narrative.
Right.
You know, but
Yeah,
you know, I'd like to know what led up to this. I know there's no excuses for grabbing your kid and pulling him across the floor. I mean, my dogs would have a great time with that. I wouldn't even do it to my dogs.
That's what I was about to say. I wouldn't even do it to an animal.
You know, and I really wouldn't. But well, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I've got to mention this to you. And this person, we was talking about this. She was African American, and she said that she believes that this may go on more because of like you know, like through the slavery times and the way that slaves was treated, and it stayed in. What do you think to that, Kay, as an African American?
I mean,
because like you said, it was hereditary. Like you said, it was hereditary, and you've got to break that.
It's a domino effect. That is
So-
like, who were they treated by before them?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what. And this is an African American lady that I'm very friendly with, because I said, "What's your feeling on this?" She said, "Well, you know, when we was in the 1800s, when we were slaves, this is how we were treated, and this is how the families within the African community were treated."
And she has a true point, you know?
Yeah,
Because we read it in
I don't want to be seen as a racist, because
I
I'm
think
really
it's
not.
really hard to like, because yeah, it is. It's a disciplinary factor. 'Cause it's like how are you disciplined? This is, you know, how slaves were disciplined, and I think it's really people kind of don't really realize that. Yeah, it gets passed down, but now it is something that you have to break, because I mean, slavery ended in 1920. Realistically,
Realistically, it didn't.
1918. So
Realistically, it didn't finish till 1955, 56.
well, yeah, that's like segregation and everything, but it really so it's like grandparents and like great grandparents. It's not like it was like your great grandparents, and so it should be like out of your head. It's just like it's a very close. It's it's closer than people think. So it's like that's.
How about what's your?
Yeah, because if it happened in the
1920, it hasn't even been 100
right?
years. Yeah.
So there's still people that are grandparents.
They're still alive, yeah.
Yeah, that are still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a generational thing that you pass on, whatever the way
Exactly.
you're treated. If you don't have the mentality of, okay, I'm gonna break the cycle,
Right.
What do you think happens in Asia?
I don't think it's only African Americans.
It's not.
I think it's in every culture.
Yeah, 'cause
Different
That
cultures have their
this-
different the way.
Maybe this
Because
is
Daniel's
just,
next. I was going to ask Daniel.
This is just one thing that you see somebody dragging them,
I just think this
by
is
their
extreme.
hair, right? Different cultures in the Hispanic community, in the Indian community. Like, I have seen another different culture, and I'm not going to say what culture, that I would have never guessed that they would have treated their child in a public place like
That's
that.
not a nice thing to say about an English culture.
No, and I said another culture.
Yeah, English.
No, it's another culture. I'm not going to say what it is, but I was very surprised, and I was like, you don't tear down your child in public. Like, you don't humiliate your child, and they yell alone discipline them physically. And when I saw that, I was shocked because I had never seen that
All
type
right,
of culture.
let me-
But you know
I
what?
have a question.
It's not
I have a
only
question as well,
because it's an African American person. It's diversity,
Sure.
and it's like I said, it's a domino effect of whatever or the way the parent or the grandparents were treated before. That's my opinion at least.
Go on. You said you got a question, Kay.
Did you guys go to Catholic school at all? Because I had a friend who went to Catholic school, and like, if they did something wrong, they would smack them with their hands with rulers. Like, they would have to hold their hands out,
I've heard that.
or they would get the paddle.
That happened in my day, and also the paddle.
Yeah, and it still happens.
Right, and then also.
When I was in elementary, I got the paddle from my first grade teacher.
Yeah, but you were a naughty kid anyway.
No, I would never speak. But if I were to be not, like, if they didn't have statutes of limitations like they do now, I think I would probably sue her ass and throw her in jail. Because a defenseless
Carolyn,
first grader getting a paddle from a teacher.
Carolyn, my wife. I was trying to think what she was for a minute. Carolyn, my wife, grew up in Vietnam until she was 7 years old. Through the Vietnamese War and everything else. And she came over in 1974, and she said when she was at school in Vietnam, the amount of times if their penmanship wasn't properly and done properly, and I don't know if you know, but writing in Vietnamese is a lot harder than, in sort of English styles or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the amount of times she said she had that 12-inch ruler across her hands was just a thing that was considered standard then. If you misbehave, you put your hand out and you get a 12-inch ruler.
Yeah, I remember my dad that he would tell us stories that when he was in school, and this was in Mexico, that the teacher would throw just stuff at them, whatever she had in her desk. And I was
that was in the
what?
70s. Let me tell you, in the 70s. Okay,
And
I've got to tell you the story.
Oh my god!
All right,
Talk
I'm
about
one-
abusive at school.
on one of my report cards at school, it said, he was my history teacher. All right, his name was Mr. Koshall. He said Stephen would do an awful lot better in his history, because I do like history. All right, if Stephen didn't want to be clown of the class, because my idea was, I just wanted to have fun when I went to school. I didn't like school. I just wanted it to be fun. All right, Mr. Koshall used to throw pieces of chalk at me when I was playing up. And then there was another guy called Mr. Horton, who I actually used to like. He was the maths teacher, all right? Do you know what Mr. Horton used to do when I used to play up?
What?
He'd put a piece of chalk on the wall, a little circle, and he'd say, okay, Stephen, put your nose on there. And then what you'll have to do is to catch up the class because you've got your nose on the wall.
See, your nose on the wall is not a bad discipline, I think, but spanking your child.
And when I'm skating at night time, all right, that was a real squeeze to get in an extra class at night, plus my homework. I learned quickly.
You showed there's different ways to discipline a child. What do you think, Daniel?
Well, I was going to say that if you go back several years, that was the norm. The parents would spank their kids in private. They wouldn't tell you, but they would do it. It depends on how bad the kid was. That was old school, and then we evolved, right? Then we started. Now we're getting back to what's causing the parents to do this, and I'm thinking it's probably a emotional thing. It's something that they're going through, and they just don't want to put up with it. So I think we're going. Some, not all, but some people are still doing the old school stuff. And there's no support for them.
There's another thing that I just want to talk about, and it was a comment, we spoke about this before on the show, and it was a comment that Denzel Washington made about the black community, where he said, one of the problems that the black community has is that the men aren't around in the life of the women. So what ends up happening is, for a lot of these black kids, the street ends up being their father. Correct, Kay?
Peers.
Mm-hmm. You know,
that is true.
The women end up, is this that? I mean, is this a case of, well, this woman's bringing up 3 kids, 4 kids, I don't know, you know, and she's got, like you said, she's got no support.
No support. I was going to just mention the paddling. It used to be in the old times that the school would ask you permission, the parent, if they could spank your child or not. And if the parent said, yeah, they were allowed to spank. Yeah. So that did exist.
Yeah, my mom.
Yeah, that did exist.
'Cause I grew up in a really bad neighborhood in South Central California, and it was like everyone had permission to spank whoever's kid if they were misbehaving. It was just like a neighborhood thing because it was like a typical like you raise a village thing. So if you were misbehaving,
it's
so
like you go to school.
Like well, you know, you want to mess up at Miss Deborah's house. Miss Deborah is gonna spank you, and then you're not gonna be allowed to go over there anymore. So.
Oh no!
I think
if somebody has a problem with my child, they better talk to me, and they better not even touch me.
Yeah, but you better sign the terms and conditions.
Yeah, because nowadays you don't even talk to your neighbor. How many of you talk to your neighbors?
I do prefer to have as little contact with my neighbor as possible.
I do.
So.
I grew up where everybody in the neighborhood knew everybody.
Yeah,
you could go to everybody's house and they knew you. They would say, "Go ahead, come in. We'll have dinner with you, lunch. Come on, sit in our table."
I walked around and gave my neighbors cookies, and everybody looked at me weird. Like when I first moved in, and I was like, "I made you guys cookies. I just want."
I know my neighbours, and we talk from time to time, but I wouldn't say we have dinner with one another all the time.
I just think that you always have to have one person that's looking out for your home.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you like, I have a rule to where it's like you have to know the neighbor across from you. You have to know the and the 2 neighbors right next door to you, just so in case they see like a suspicious car in front of your house, or like you're gone or something like that.
Or Kay's being kidnapped.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I have a case in point. My neighbor, who she didn't talk to us very much, but she passed away, and I didn't know that she passed away. And we had to freeze, and they didn't turn her water off, and it flooded her house. And I just happened to see the water coming down from the 2nd story down, and I turned off her water. So that's kind of stuff that, you know, as a neighbor, other neighbors just didn't do anything. They just let their water run. But I went and I turned it off. And I thought, hey, you know, one day it might happen to me. I would want one of my neighbors to do the same.
Was
My
she
neighbor
dead?
is so
Was she
nice.
dead inside the house?
No, she passed away. She natural.
Oh, okay.
Natural. But nobody said anything.
My neighbor is so nice that she called me while I was on the road that there was like a swarm of bees in front of my door.
Oh.
So it's like, thank you. She's like, I know your daughter's probably about to come in, you know, get off the bus. and I know you make it before your child, but just in case, you know, she beats you, there's a lot of beats. But I'm outside. Tell her good job. And I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You know, her water sprinkler broke. I'm like,
That's not
hello,
nice.
like there's water running down your driveway. I just came back from a walk. You know, so
Yeah,
it's good to talk to people, but I don't condemn those parents that still do like old school, you know, but do it in a sense that it's not when you're irate, when that you're in anger, because in anger, as politicians, as professionals, you know, it happens to ourselves. We say a lot of ugly stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And not only that, but
and to your child, which is
How could you say such a thing about me?
no, but what I mean is that if we can even be not so nice and good mannered with other people, we should really care about the blessings that God gave us with these beautiful children, and like really care for them and think twice before we discipline them and how we discipline them.
Well, not only that, but it develops animosity towards the parents. If the child keeps getting beat, the child's not going to think very much about their parents.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when they leave early out of the house, and then they do their own thing. Now, I do have to say that not all kids that do that turn out to be bad.
No.
And it depends on your mentors. Who's your mentor? Who's the people that you follow and that can maybe get you out of that?
And this is where I think teachers come in, coaches come in, because even as I've gone through life, I mean, there's been a lot of great people that like you said, support structure that I've had around me, whether it be through a sports background or even at the school that I was at.
I think it's important to make it, if you are going to do something like that, kind of like you said, Laura, it's like, make sure it's a lesson, not a punishment. Like, make sure it's a lesson. Because honestly, gentle parenting is like a trend, and I think we can talk about that next week, but gentle parenting is a trend. But at the same time, it's like, if you're rude to someone, you don't know if they're gonna punch you. And like we said, you don't know if someone's gonna shoot you, especially now living in Texas. So you do have to, like, I don't condemn parents for spanking their kids, because it's like, if you do something to someone and you don't know them, they're probably gonna punch you. You don't know, they'll get into a fight with you. But just make sure, if you do feel that way, like you said, just take a second, and then also try to talk it out through, because I don't know if this happened to you, Steven. I feel like you'd be the most common person, but I don't know if your parents ever were like, go get a switch off of the tree, go get like a little stick, and then I'll hit you with that. That's what people used to do, like back in the day. They'd be like, go get a tree, and then they would
My
calm
mom
down.
grew up like that. My dad.
Yeah, and they'd be like, go get
I mean,
that.
I know it's sort of not the same thing, but it's still sort of, to me, it's, and it goes back to what Laura said, to back up what you said, it's a bit like road rage.
Yeah, that's true. That's how that looks.
All right, I mean, before you punish your kids, just calm down a little
Yeah.
bit, because that's what happened. Some of the things that you see on the road, in Texas especially, you see going on the road. The other day I drove home and there was some girl driving all over the road to try and scare some other girl that was driving, because she thought that she cut her up.
Yeah.
So I stopped my Suburban and got out and told the girl to behave herself. I wasn't trying to be in a negative way, but I mean, I just stopped and I said, look, just behave, calm down.
Yeah, don't you have somewhere to go? Isn't that why you're mad in the first place?
I would not have done that, Stephen. I would say, God, please take care of them, because
Yeah.
I do not
I
want
was
to
in
get shot.
I was in my Suburban, so it's a big car, and she was in this little car, and she was and it was on red, so.
There's a movie
Yeah.
about that where this lady flips
And she
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Did you watch the movie?
That is scary.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, well, the girl that was doing all the driving around, I got out and spoke to her. The other girl was shouting at her, and I said, look, just calm down, ladies, just calm down. But
you
technically,
take a
I could have got
driving
shot.
class-
What's that?
When you take a driving class in Texas, they teach you about road rage, because like I've taken a driving class in both Texas and California. California, you don't hear anything about road rage because everybody's high. They don't care. They just drive super slow. But in Texas,
Everybody's happy.
they teach you about road rage, and there are so many instances where it's like they have to, because it's so bad here. They teach you how to avoid road rage and how not to like flip people off and don't cut
Just
people
ignore
off
them
so
is
you don't
what.
know.
Basically, they tell you just
You
ignore
should
them.
go to the nearest police station. Ignore them and go to the nearest police station.
Yeah, that's what.
Is that what they teach?
We have
Yes.
to go because, they're not going to do anything. We're in front of the police station.
Well,
That's what they say you should do if you feel like you're getting followed home or anything like that. You
anything.
just drive to the nearest police station. Or if somebody hops into your car, just hop in there. But I think we should talk about, instead of horrible parents, let's talk about this really great parent.
Yes.
Yeah, let's
The
do
bad
that.
and the
Yeah,
good.
probably.
Really
The good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'll do the ugly. So there you go. So next point, gentlemen, stepdad wins a big Powerball prize. It wasn't the big prize, but he wins the Powerball prize. And he gave his daughter some good news and some bad news. And it says, an Arkansas man recently won $200,000 playing the Powerball, but instead of claiming the prize, he fulfilled what was once just a joke between him and his stepdaughter. My stepdad plays the numbers of me and my daughter's birth dates. Callie Crissell told the Kansas Scholarship Lottery, we always had a running joke that if he had won big, he would give me the winning ticket. He won big during the July the 17th drawing when his ticket matched the Powerball and 4 of the white balls, according to a July 24 news release from lottery officials. This qualified him for a $50,000 prize, but because the man had added the power play option for $1, the prize was multiplied by 4, so the total prize was $200,000. The man surpassed Crystal at her home, according to the release. He told her he had something important to tell her, lottery officials said. He stated he had good news and bad news. Crystal said, when claiming her prize, he gave me the bad news first. I must start paying my own phone bill. The good news. Then the good news was, I have money to pay it with, and then he gave me the lottery ticket.
That's so nice. That kind of sucks for the other daughter. She's like, you didn't win.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Your birth date didn't win.
But I thought that was pretty sweet.
Yes, it is.
You know. So.
It's something nice. And it was a stepdad.
And that's not normal. Sometimes I feel there's a little bit of animosity between stepdaughters and stepdads.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of controversy on that, but that's good, you know. And she's now learning how to be an adult, pay for her own phone bill.
Yeah.
She says that she's going to pay for the phone bill, and what? Fix.
How old was the stepdaughter?
It doesn't say. I was trying to see what it says, but she plans to use the money to improve her home
Okay.
and take a family vacation. So
That's really nice, though. I think
And
that's
and of course she's going to invite him on the vacation, right?
hopefully,
awesome. Yeah.
pay it forward.
And I like one of the comments that went into this on Yahoo News. It said, it's from a guy called Paul. It said, this gesture is what the country used to be like. A man's word was his bond. We see little of this nowadays, unfortunately. I have my list of those I will help if I have the good fortune to pop a big one. Most of my winnings will be given away, and those that receive their share are free to do what they want. But it doesn't.
Yeah, I think.
I think that goes back to, they had a soccer player. I don't remember what country he played with, but he was a very well-known soccer player that made millions, that they actually paid him millions. And the reporters were following him around, and he was just dressed very casually. You know, he was a millionaire, but he didn't have, a big watch or fancy clothes or shoes. And they asked him, well, what do you do with your money? Then he said, well, first of all, I don't have to wear nice jewelry and clothes and drive a nice car, because what I do is I give my money to the poor, and I help them. In the country that he was from, they also had poor areas where they didn't have good running water, and he actually put some of that money into wells to generate water for the village. And I thought that was a great answer that he gave, instead of, you have a lot of jewelry and money that you wear on yourself, and you promote it because you're a multimillionaire. But in this case, he gave it away, and that was a big thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, Bill Gates does a lot of that in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's hundreds of people here that need his help, and he doesn't help. There's a lot of Americans that need his help. Like, for example, maybe a mother like that. I don't know.
Or give her a free computer.
No, maybe she needed help. Maybe she was stressed out for paying bills. Who
Prescription
knows? But-
prescription drugs will take care of that.
But sometimes,
Well, that's another conversation for another day.
some people like to help outside of the world
There's
and
other-
forget
there's-
about
there's
what's
other-
inside that needs help.
There's other drugs that aren't prescription that might even help that situation.
So Elon Musk.
Yeah, let's talk about
Okay.
Elon Musk and Twitter for the last thing. Kay brought this to our attention sort of this morning. So what's happening with Elon Musk now?
He has completely changed Twitter. He changed, I think if you update the app, it changes. But he changed Twitter to X. It's just X now. And so instead of saying that you're going to have tweets, you call them
X.
Zeeks. Yeah, or
Yeah.
whatever. I can't even pronounce it. But people are pretty, it's just like a really random, weird change. And it's like a cosmetic change. So,
I think at first people are going to have a semi-difficult time because tweet sounds so much better than X, and because you really do tweet when
Yeah.
you're tweeting, and now you're going to be Xing. So that's, to me, that's, I don't know if he's going to lose business from that, because
Well, he's losing business anyway. The
yeah.
value of his company's dropped by half.
So
And
But-
you were saying that you believe that he's suing the lawyers,
oh yeah, he's suing the lawyers that made him buy Twitter.
but he signed the documentation surely to say that he was going to buy Twitter,
Yeah.
and in the agreement it had that he had to buy it. He couldn't pull away from it.
Mm-hmm. And then he tried to pull away. He tried to lower the amount after they were like,
You see, I think Elon Musk is obviously a very, very exceptional, smart guy. I think he's on the levels of Tom Edison and people in the past that have really been infamously famous people. But from a point of view of a businessman, I think you can argue whether he's a really strong businessman or not. Because some of the decisions that he makes and some of the comments that he makes to different people, I just don't think he should be making them comments.
Yeah, he seems
Because
like
you're
he should be a background.
Because you're a bit, what are you better off being a background guy? Just look at the likes of Jeff Bezos and the likes of Gates. They're all background people in the background. But, and I feel with Elon Musk, I admire the man. Obviously, he built Tesla to the point. But even now, he's complaining, blaming the government because Tesla aren't helping his sales of the electric car.
I think that Steve Jobs did so well with him being the face and the branding of Apple and things like that. It seems like Elon Musk is attempting to be the next Steve Jobs, but he's just
I
going
agree.
to go,
But he's in everything.
horribly.
But he's in everything. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
I think it's hard for him to give up
Yeah.
the authority and the position instead of being the background person, because obviously he has plenty of money to hire the best people to run these things, but he's just very micromanaging. I'm thinking he likes to have his hands in everything, and he doesn't need to. So I think
I'll get accused of that.
he struggles with that, and I think, again, you need the right people behind you to help you get through that, because he's not going to change as long as he thinks he has to make all the decisions,
Yeah, it's not going to work.
and he doesn't have to. He can
What do you
pay
think?
enough people.
What do you think the future of Twitter holds, or X? The future of X.
Are they charging? Is he charging for?
So yes and no. He's doing it essentially as a subscription. So if there's a celebrity or a big company like CNN or even let's say Elon Musk, you're verified because you're a public figure and things like that. Well, he completely completely changed it to where you can buy verification for $10 a month now. So, and then if you don't have verification, you don't get your information sent out. So it completely changes the algorithm. Like you get suppressed if you're not verified. Mm-hmm. So if you have verification, let's say we buy verification for the Olympian Table, more people will see us when we're tweeting. But also, that means you also can't see as many tweets as other people if you don't have verification, and you can't send as many messages. So it's essentially forcing you to purchase a premium subscription to the site. So he's trying to charge people because he's trying to recuperate the $44 billion that he spent purchasing the site.
But do you think that's going to stifle the speech? Because now not everybody that's getting it for free right now can pretty much put anything on Twitter, whether it's valid or not valid. But by charging...
Well, that was his primary reason for buying
charging,
it,
he's going to cut that... Because this is habit forming, right? It's not a... this is a habit. People get on Twitter all the time.
Yeah, but that's what...
I don't get on Twitter.
Don't get on Twitter, Laura.
I get on Instagram.
I don't.
And the way you're on TikTok, Laura, you're going to get addicted to Twitter if you're on Twitter. Because everyone's so opinionated about the dumbest things. I'm just like,
Yeah.
you guys okay? But, yeah. And also, it got banned in Indonesia already, X, because changing it from X.com, because X is a lot of adult sites.
That's correct, yes.
So almost every adult site has X in it, and so through Indonesian law, they can't have that, so it's automatically been blocked. And already X was it.
And that's a very conservative country as well, Indonesia.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so they can't have it. And also, if you type X first, like if you're searching X on Google, more likely adult sites will start popping up after all of this. Yeah, after all the controversy dies down, I'm pretty sure it'll come up for you as Twitter, just because of, it's really popular right now. But in like the next 6 months, once it gets comfortable, it's just going to be a lot of adult
Xbox.
sites. That's funny. So it's really...
If you put X in a Google search, Elon Musk and company take @X handle from its original user.
But when you start, you have to think about in the future, once this gets...
And Malcolm X comes up as well.
I got XL, Xbox,
Yeah.
Xfinity.
Elon Musk has officially killed Twitter. The zombie platform lives on as X.
Yeah, because...
Is he trying to be X-Men or what?
No.
Like, Instagram has already come out with a competitive site called Threads, but, that's also super dangerous.
What's that?
Threads?
Instagram came out with a competitor and they call it Threads. Which is
Right, that's what Zuckerberg just come out with, wasn't it?
Yeah, but...
He changed Facebook also to Meta, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but he kept Facebook.
But
He
the
didn't-
parent company...
Yeah, and that probably what Elon Musk should have done is just called it an X company and kept Twitter as
As Twitter.
the platform.
But people are saying that Twitter is more than likely going to die. As soon as there's a decent competitor site that comes out, people are probably going to leave just because it's not healthy and it's weird.
Well, it's a change of times, right? Somebody's going to outdo your Twitter and come up with something else. And because people are always ever changing, they don't just stick to one thing forever.
Yeah.
They change, so it'll happen.
He took away, there was a Twitter user and their thing was just X. That was their username on Twitter. And he took it for himself without telling the person. And the person actively used Twitter, so he's like, what, can I have my username back?
Yeah.
And he gave him the username X123456789. It's the worst username on Twitter. I would be so mad. Imagine we were the Olympian Table 123456789 because the Olympics bought the name. Like, I would be so mad. But yeah, it's just not. I'm interested to see how his businesses are going to continue because Tesla's not doing so well. What they said, because I just came...
They said that SpaceX is doing okay.
Yeah, SpaceX is doing good.
But they said...
But it's not beyond Elon Musk to change and to do something else. That's the kind of person he is. He's always been innovative.
We know an Elon Musk, right, Steven?
Yes.
What's that?
You know, in Elon Musk.
There's a new Elon Musk.
We know Elon Musk.
You know, there's a new Elon Musk.
Remember?
Remember?
Elon
the person that
Musk,
changed their name.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh.
We gotta tell you about it after the podcast. But Courtney did send something in that I thought was interesting.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Okay, now I know what you're talking. Oh yeah, okay. You're on about one of our clients.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. One of our, just to let everybody know, one of our clients, they've changed their children's names. They've got, what is it? One child called Elon.
Or she changed her name to Elon.
She changed
her
her name to
name
Elon.
to Elon.
Then she changed a children's name to what?
Jeff Bezos and
Jeff
Mark
Bezos
Zuckerberg.
and Mark Zuckerberg.
Wow.
So now you've got a family of techie guys.
Courtney says something about vehicles, Kia vehicles getting stolen. Well, how old is your vehicle?
I've been telling you guys about this for months, and you guys didn't believe me.
No. But there's Kia have done a recall for this problem.
It's 200% increase on theft in the Houston area.
But did you know
For
that?
Kia vehicles.
Right.
Really?
But
Wow.
did you?
200%.
I'll still buy Kia all day long.
Will
but-
you?
Yeah, but did you know they can break into any car now
Sure.
through the flashlight? I mean, that's the part that's ironic with this. With Kia, you're not looking at the whole thing. You know, don't you?
Yeah.
You can get into any car, even if it's a Mercedes, by taking out the front light. Because now what happens is, when you click your button and then all the lights, it all lights up to say that it's locked.
It's electronic. So.
It's electronic.
Yeah.
So you're talking any car.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm telling you guys about this, and now it hit Houston.
But the Kia thing was through the actual key.
yeah. The Kia
Right, so
Ceed.
you've got to get inside the car.
Yeah.
All right. But the other way of getting in, apparently, is they can get in through the... They don't have to get inside the car with the other way. They just literally take out somehow they take out, I believe, the front light, and then they can actually
They can,
hook it
they
up.
can start your car
Right.
that way through
Yeah.
the front light.
They
You
they
can
open, and what
touch
they
it.
do is they can actually
electronics.
open the car and start it through there.
Yeah. Because you can pop the hood from the front, and all they have to do is.
And with Carolyn's car, she's got a Mercedes, and what's nice about the Mercedes is it's a push button start, but what you can actually do is take out the it's like the push button part, and you can take that out and take it with you, and then apparently it's difficult to start.
Yeah. It's so scary because it's just like, what are people supposed to do with a 200% increase?
If you drive a Kia or
Wow.
Honda, be careful.
And it's mainly
You are
Honda.
that's a CR Honda.
These vehicles are being
Mhm.
stolen at an alarming rate.
I'd rather.
But I mean, for a while there, they were taking catalytic converters, and you're like,
Right.
really? Somebody's getting underneath your car and
We
taking
sold
the
all our
catalytic
trucks
converter.
because of the catalytic
Yeah.
converters.
So I'm not surprised something new is coming up all the time.
Yeah, it's so.
And regardless what you do, I think, especially with automobiles, they will always be creative to try and get into your car.
Yeah. I just think it gets easier because.
If you drive a Kia or
Oh my
Honda,
God. It's easier because people are doing TikTok trends about them. Like what we were talking about, we just watched a
Mhm.
video
Yeah.
of
The guy
Right.
doing
stealing identity. Yeah.
Yeah, just doing a whole and
Why don't they arrest them when that happens? That's what I can't understand.
so the reason that they can't arrest that guy is because of the fact that he's saying that was a reenactment, even though it wasn't a reenactment, clearly. But they're saying that it was a reenactment, but also he doesn't do it anymore. Now he just sells the courses online for $200
On
to
how to hack
teach you on
people.
how to do
But
it.
that's still an illegal. That's still
That's
an
still
illegal. act.
Illegal, yeah.
but they can't.
I don't care what you're teaching that's illegal. You're hurting other people's
Yeah, I
finances.
mean it's causing harm and hurt for people that maybe it might even take somebody's savings away from them.
That's the thing.
And I know what people say, well, it's covered by the bank, but indirectly,
It goes
it goes back to us.
because
We
our
pay
fees
for
are
it.
going to go up. At the end
Absolutely.
of the year, once the bank sees their losses, our fees go up as consumers. So it's like,
Anyway, please like, subscribe, and comment. I'm sure there's a lot of items that we've had today on our podcast that we'd like you to comment on. There's an awful lot. So until we'll see you next week at the Olympian Table at 10:30. We'll try to start on time next week. Unfortunately, Courtney couldn't make it this week. She's not feeling too well. So that's it for this week. So Laura, how do we contact you at Lone Star Premier Mortgage?
Yes, at laura@lspmortgage.com.
And how do we contact you, Danielle?
It's Century 21 Olympian. I'm in the list, or you can just go morerealtor@gmail.com.
Absolutely. My name's Stephen Williams. It's been a pleasure to have some entertainment with you all and a little bit of a chat and what's going on in the world out there. So until next week, ta-da for now and enjoy the party.